Bros, sometimes it's not you that are stuck, but your environment. You can be doing everything the right way, doing all the right things, but still not growing. And that's because you're planted in the wrong environment. Growth doesn't only depend on effort, it depends on where you're planted. It depends on your surrounding, all right? Let me explain further. Hey guys, welcome back to The Anchor Show. My name is Andrew, and today I'm going to be talking about 5 signs that your environment could be the reason why you're not growing. It could be the thing that is holding you back, all right? The first thing we have to keep in mind is that in order for growth to happen, in order for you to flourish, right, you need to be in the right environment. I want to use a plant as an example. If a plant so happened to pop up in a concreted area or amongst a bunch of rocks, right? You've seen this before. You've seen, like a concrete and there's maybe like a tiny little crevice and here comes a little plant, right? Maybe a plant amongst a bunch of rocks. It somehow manages to pop up through all those rocks and to grow, right? Typically, these plants are not going to truly flourish the way that they can. They're not going to grow to their fullest potential if they remain in those environments, right? If you take these same plants, if you were to remove them from the rocks and the concrete and put it in a nicely nourished soil in an area where it can grow and spread the roots and just grow big and spread its branches, you're going to see this tree or this plant grow to its fullest potential, right? That's typically how things work. If you are in the wrong environment, that can stifle you and your growth. So here's number 1. You're constantly explaining yourself instead of being understood. When it comes on to your goals and your values and your dreams and all that, you feel foreign amongst the people you're around, right? You have to keep explaining to them or sometimes dumbing yourself down for them to understand, right? This is not you being better than anyone. It's just that you're in a place and a space amongst a group of people that you've outgrown. And they don't get you, right? If you can't have a certain conversation with a child because their level of comprehension is far less than yours because you're an adult and because you've lived and experienced things, it's the same thing. When you've leveled up, when you've evolved, when you've grown and you are around people that have not, they basically remain the same. It's hard to have conversation with them because they won't understand you, right? They just won't get you. So if you have to be dumbing yourself down to be understood, or you have to constantly be explaining yourself to the people around you, chances are that environment is no longer a fit for you. It no longer suits you, and you should be looking to move away from that space. Number 2, this one is so common. Growth is not encouraged. It is met with resistance instead of support. So if you're growing up emotionally, financially, mentally, spiritually, you've evolved, you've grown. Say you come from a family where no one has ever gone to therapy, no one really makes money, no one has emotional intelligence, but all of a sudden you're doing all of these things, right? You're making money, you're starting a little business, you are growing emotionally intelligent and becoming emotionally aware, you're going to therapy to heal your traumas, etc., etc. That is met with resistance, right? They don't understand what it's like to not be in the current situation that they're in. That's all they've ever known. And so here you come, Mr. Goody Two-Shoe, trying to change the narrative, trying to change your life path and the outcome of your life. And because they don't understand it's met with resistance. And, they might either discourage you from continuing to evolve, or they might even encourage you to remain the same, right? That is another indicator that you have outgrown these people, space, and situation and need to change that environment if you are going to continue to grow and flourish into the best self, into the best version of yourself. Sign number 3 is you feel smaller and your confidence drops and you start to second guess yourself, right? If you're around a bunch of people who once again, they don't understand what it's like to grow, to level up, to evolve, right? And you have all these grand ideas and you feel very confident, very positive about these ideas, and you know for a fact you can execute and make this happen. But because of their small-minded nature, because of their inability to visualize with you, to dream with you, to think big like you, they start to project their doubts upon you, and that sometimes can cause a person to start to doubt themselves, right? Start to wonder, am I making the right choices? Am I a fool to think that I can start a business and have a successful business, etc., right? Sometimes you can start to question yourself, and if you're not strong enough, their darkness can dim your light. Their darkness could even prevent you from ever shining your light. And so this is why it becomes, again, extremely important for you to change your environment, right? If you're in a space where these things, your dreams, your goals, your visions are encouraged, right? It's going to propel you. It's going to push you. It's going to motivate you. It's going to encourage you, right? And you can't wait to get started. You want to do this thing so bad because you have people behind you supporting you, propping you up and propelling you, right? That's usually how that works. But when it's the opposite, and you're not getting that support, instead you're getting discouragement, you're getting reasons to stay right where you're at and reasons why you shouldn't do what you're intended on doing. That is a time for you to pack up and go. And sometimes this can be in relationships, right? If you're with someone who is not an ambitious person and you happen to be very ambitious and they don't want you to pursue your goals and your dreams because they just can't see the vision, right? You might have to leave that relationship. It could be a job, right? Maybe you have a particular skill set and you're working in this job and you've gone to get further training and now you have a higher level of training and you want to get this, now you want to level up and get like a leadership position or a bigger role in a bigger position with bigger pay and all that. But you're being discouraged. It's okay, just stay right where you don't need to take this on, blah, blah, blah. Maybe you need to leave that job, right? Maybe you need to go find another job somewhere else that will embrace you for who you are, who you're becoming, and give you the role and responsibility that you're looking for. Maybe you live at home with your family, but they don't believe in you and they also can't see the vision. Maybe you need to pack up and go off on your own, right? Maybe you need to go get your own place and go live somewhere else. Whatever environment that you're in that is no longer serving you and is holding you back, the moment you notice and realize that it's holding you back, you should start planning on your exit strategy. You should start planning on leaving. Number 4, comfort is prioritized over progress. Let me tell you something. Comfort is one of the biggest thieves. Comfort is a crook, right? Comfort will rob you of your fullest potential. I promise you, right? Because we are creatures of habit. As humans, we are creatures of habit. We tend to stick to habits and patterns, right? And growth, change, evolution all requires us to be a little bit uncomfortable. It all requires us to step out of our comfort zones and to be different and do things differently. But when we're too comfortable, right, it's hard for us to change. I have seen it with my own eyes, right? I've seen it. I've seen where people are working a particular job, right? So this is a scenario. They're working a job. They're not being paid no more than 13, 14, 15 bucks an hour, right? The job comes with health insurance. They get 2 to 3 weeks off per year for leave. The job itself is within 15-20 minute drive from their home, and the job pays for tuition reimbursement if they decide to go to school and pursue a degree. The job will pay tuition reimbursement, so it's covered, and other benefits. And because of those things, right, they're like, oh man, this is so much good things that they're offering, and it's hard for me. No. That is the carrot that they dangled in front of the rabbit to keep him trapped. That's not fulfilling your fullest potential. That is keeping you comfortable in a very uncomfortable situation, because these same people are miserable. They complain every day. They hate their jobs or dislike it, but they won't leave because of the things that I just stated, right? When I was in the military gives us 30 days off per year. So we get a whole month off per year. That's, I guess you could call it free leave, right? In addition to that, every holiday, Christmas, New Year, Thanksgiving, every holiday we get a bunch of time off as well. We'll get like 3-day weekend. Sometimes we'll get a 4-day weekend. Then, based upon your command, depending on the command you're at, you will wind up getting a whole lot more days off, just free days off, right? Some of us, we work in environments where, you really work a lot, and sometimes you're gone from home for long periods of time. So you get a lot of time off when we have down times, right? That is a good incentive that I personally enjoyed and appreciated, right? And, obviously you're getting paid every 2 weeks, on point. You have health care for you and your family. I mean, there was a lot of really good benefits. However, I didn't let that comfort trap me, because I had bigger goals. I had visions. I had bigger goals to start my own business, to do something different for myself, right? And so even though those benefits were great, I didn't allow myself to be trapped in the comfort of benefits, right? While my life is just passing by. So comfort is a big thief and a robber of progress and growth. So if you feel comfortable in your situation, but you're at the same time miserable and uncomfortable, then that is a clear indicator that your environment is not serving you well and you need to change. Moving on to the last point, number 5. You are surviving instead of becoming or thriving. Okay, what do I mean by that? When you're in survival mode, right? It's your circumstances, it's your environment, right? Those are the things that are going to put you in survival mode or keep you in survival mode. When a person is in survival mode, they don't care about goals. They don't care about progress. You can't be concerned about leveling up and growing and progressing and this and that, because your goal is to survive today, survive this moment, survive this era, this season, whatever, right? That's all you are able to focus on, is just surviving. So we have to assess, why am I in survival mode? What's going on? What am I doing wrong, right? What do I need to change to get out of this survival mode? Once you get out of that survival mode, then you can tap into your creativity. You can tap into your ability to create and do things, do the things that you've always wanted to do the things that you dreamt of doing, right? You can actually start working on realizing your dreams and your goals and your visions, right? But as long as you stay in that survival mode and that survival state of being, that is an environment that holds you back and prevents you from being able to step into your best self, right? So we have to get out of survival mode, right? Similarly to being in that comfort zone, you're uncomfortable, you're miserable, but you're comfortable enough to stay there. It's the same thing. We have to get out of surviving. Yes, you're surviving. Yes, you're getting by. Yes, you're paying your bills. Yes, you're buying food, but you're literally just hanging on. You got to find a way to get out of that survival mode in order to be able to have the freedom of mind and the freedom of your time to be able to tap into your creative space, right? Once you do that, once you change that environment, then you're going to be able to start to thrive, right? And think about it. Always think of yourself as a plant, right? Think of yourself as a plant, especially when you're just starting to grow and evolve, right? A young plant needs a lot of nurturing and a lot of nourishing in order to grow. And once it grows to a state of maturity, okay, it can withstand, different changes within that same environment. But until you get there, you need the environment to be perfect. You need to be nourished, you need to be nurtured. Therefore, if you think of yourself as a tree, you need to be nourished, you need to be nurtured. If your environment and your surrounding isn't nurturing, isn't nourishing, isn't encouraging, if it's not motivating and uplifting, then you need to change it. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck in that same cycle forever. And that's facts. I don't make that up. You can go look that the data is out there. The proof is there, right? So let us start examine our environment, right? Sometimes it's difficult. It is going to be difficult because what do you mean if I'm in a relationship and it's not working and this person is holding me back and they're not propelling me forward and I need to leave? That's not easy for the average person to just make that decision and take the appropriate action. It's not going to be easy. Change is never easy. Now, this is an analogy that I heard from a philosopher and I'll always remember. And he was talking about a lobster, right? And a lobster, and apparently other shellfish and even snakes go through this process, right? The lobster, his flesh grows into his shell to a point where it becomes tight and very uncomfortable. It grows and grows until it starts to become so uncomfortable, the lobster have to release himself off that shell, right? And once he gets rid of that old shell, once he sheds it, he then grows a new shell, a new armor, right? And that becomes the new size of him, right? That's how they go from a little baby lobster up to a big lobster that end up on your dinner plate, right? It's growth. But the only way he releases the old shell is because of the discomfort that he starts to feel, the closeness, the tightness in that old shell. And then he eventually gets rid of it in order to take on a new growth, new size, and all that, right? So if you're uncomfortable in your current situation, if that shell is getting tight, if it's squeezing you, that is an indication or an indicator that you need to change your environment, right? And yes, it will be difficult. Change is usually difficult. Not all changes comes easy and effortless. Change is a lot of work, a lot of effort, and it comes with a lot of pain sometimes and difficulty, but it pays off in the end, right? It always pays off in the end as long as you're making the right decision, because you can change one environment for another and still end up in the wrong environment. So when you're changing your environment, be sure that you're taking on a new environment that serves you, that suits you, and that is going to nourish you and nurture you. All right. I hope that you took some value from this one, guys. If you are new to this channel, welcome. Please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Give this video a like. And if you want to be generous, go ahead and share it with someone you think who needs to hear this message. Until the next video, guys, let us continue to grow, evolve, and transform into the best version of ourselves. Peace.